He says something brilliant. And you feel it before you think it. Your laugh comes a half-second late, like you are watching yourself from the other side of glass. You start editing your own thoughts in real time, smoothing the sharp edges so you sound easier to like. And a quiet sentence slips in. He is so much, and I am not. Later. It is 11:02 p.m., and your kitchen is the only room with a light on. Your phone is warm from your palm, the screen waiting like a small altar. You draft a message that is really a question in disguise. Do you still see me? Or did I imagine all of it? You almost send it. You don't. What if the thing you are chasing is not him at all? What if it is the version of you that wakes up when you stand near his shine? The part that knows you could be louder, clearer, more alive. And what if you could reclaim that without asking his permission? You are in a used bookstore on a weekday afternoon, the kind with narrow aisles and a bell that sounds tired when the door opens. The air smells like damp paper and old glue, and your fingers keep running over the rough edge of a paperback as if texture could steady you. You came here to kill time. But really you came here because it is quiet enough to hear the thoughts you keep drowning out. You pick up a book he would love. That is the first tell. How naturally you reach for his taste, like it is a compass. You imagine his hands holding it, his eyes scanning the first page, his voice tossing out a quick, confident observation. In your mind, he becomes the standard and you become the student. Nodding, absorbing, shrinking. You feel it in your shoulders. That subtle collapse. It is not dramatic. It is just the way you stop taking up space when you think someone else is the main character. You do it without permission from anyone. You offer it up like a tribute. On the inside, a small, humiliating thought flickers. I hate that I do this. You are a grown woman with a full life, and yet one bright man can make your own light feel like a candle in daylight. You start measuring yourself against his confidence, his talent, his certainty, and you always come up short. You open the book anyway. Halfway down the page, there is a penciled note in the margin, faint and slanted like someone wrote it in a hurry. Your eyes land on it, and your chest dips, because it is the same sentence you have been swallowing for months. Something like, "This is where I disappear." You stand there with the book open, and for a second the bookstore feels like a confession booth, not because he did anything wrong in this moment, but because you see what you have been doing with him. You have been turning admiration into a kind of self-abandonment, like your respect for him requires you to become smaller. This is where it starts. Not with him. With you. With the way you treat his brilliance as proof that you should be quiet. With the way you listen to him and forget to listen to yourself. With the way you call it love, when sometimes it is just fear wearing a softer outfit. And here is the gentle turn. If you can recognize his gold, it means your eyes already know what gold looks like. That ability is not accidental. You are not worshipping something alien. You are recognizing a frequency you can carry too. The book is still open in your hands. The penciled note is still there. The paper smells like rain that never dried. And a new sentence tries to rise. Simple and steady. Like it has been waiting under all that awe. Maybe I have been seeing myself. And calling it him. It is 11:02 p.m. again. And you can tell it is late because the whole apartment has that softened sound. Like even the walls are tired. The kitchen light makes a small circle on the counter. Warm and yellow. And everything outside it feels far away. You pour hot water into a mug and watch the steam rise. Thin and steady. As if it has nowhere else to be. Your phone is in your hand like a reflex. Not even a decision. Just a movement Your body learned. You unlock it. Swipe. Open the thread. And there his name is, sitting at the top like a headline. You feel a rush that is almost embarrassing, not because you are desperate, but because this is what chasing looks like when it wears perfume. You type something casual, a question mark that pretends to be light, a small compliment that pretends to be friendly. What you are really doing is reaching for his shine the way someone reaches for a lamp when the room gets dark. If he answers, you feel real again. If he does not, you start scraping yourself for reasons. You stare at the mug, the steam curls toward your face, and you breathe it in like a brief comfort. Then you turn the phone over and place it face down on the counter, slow enough that your hand trembles a little. It feels dramatic, like you are setting down a weapon. But it is just a phone. And still, it is hard, because the chase is not only about him, it is about the part of you that believes proximity to brilliance is safety, that if you stay close enough, you will not have to face the emptier question underneath. The question you keep dodging, what do I want when I am not trying to be chosen? You take one sip. It is too hot. And you wince. That tiny sting brings you back to your body, back to the present, back to the truth that you are here, and you are not disappearing. You are just uncomfortable. You are just in the moment where you do not get instant proof. And this is the turning point most people skip. You do not replace the chase with coldness. You do not punish him in your mind. You simply let the silence exist without filling it with your effort. You let your attention stay with you. For a few seconds, the kitchen is just a kitchen. The hum of the fridge, the heat in your throat, the phone face down like a quiet vow. You are not writing another sentence tonight. The next morning, the light in your room is honest. It does not flatter anyone. On the wall, your calendar sits there with its empty squares, like a quiet accusation and an invitation at the same time. You think about him and what you call his brilliance, the way he speaks about his work, how his mind seems to move faster than the room. You remember how your attention sharpens when he talks, not only because he is impressive, but because something in you starts leaning forward, hungry and awake. There is a Jung phrase for this, and I will only use it once: golden shadow. In plain life, it means you keep pointing to a quality in him because some part of you knows it belongs in your hands too, even if you have not practiced it out loud yet. That is why admiration can feel like longing. Your mind makes him the owner of the thing you want. Your chest tightens. You look down. You tell yourself you are not that kind of woman. The kind who creates, leads, speaks, starts. I notice how quickly admiration turns into self-erasure when someone feels magnetic. A pattern I keep seeing is women shrinking their plans just to stay close to a man's glow. Here's what tends to happen the more you orbit him, the less you can hear yourself. You look at the calendar again. A whole week of evenings, sitting there like open doors. You realize how often you leave them blank on purpose, just in case he wants you, just in case you need to be available, just in case your life should bend around his. And something in you finally gets a little brave. Not loud, just brave. If your eyes can recognize gold, it is because you have seen it from the inside before. Maybe not fully lived, maybe not fully claimed, but recognized. So you pick up a marker and you circle one night. Not for him, for you. The sound of the cap clicking back on is small, but it feels like ownership. Not a performance, not a punishment, Just a quiet decision to stop treating your potential like it is someone else's property. The hallway outside your apartment smells like someone else's laundry detergent and old paint. The motion sensor light flickers on as you climb the last step, then dims, then flares again, like it cannot decide if you are there. Your keys are tight in your fist, metal edges pressing little moons into your palm. You stop at your door and feel the urge arrive. Clean and sharp. Open the chat. Check if he is online. Send something light. Something clever. Something that proves you are still in the story. I almost text. I don't. Because you know what happens after you send it. The waiting begins, and your attention leaves your life and goes to his phone. His mood, his timing, his invisible reasons. You start reading silence like scripture, searching for a hidden sentence that will make you feel chosen. So you do a smaller, braver thing. You write a message and do not send it. Just one line. Simple enough to be true. You type, I like you, but I'm not available for half presents. If you want to build something real, reach for me clearly. Your thumb hovers. You feel your stomach tighten, because saying it would mean you cannot pretend anymore. It would mean you cannot keep worshipping his potential while ignoring your own standards. You delete nothing. You still do not send it. Not because you are scared, but because tonight you are practicing ownership in a quieter way. You are letting your boundary exist inside you first, like a new muscle learning its shape. You unlock your door and step into your apartment. The air is cooler inside, and the quiet is yours. Not empty, just yours. The keys drop into the bowl by the entrance with a small clink, and it sounds like a decision landing. You walk past the mirror without checking your face. You do not need to look for proof that you are enough. You need to remember you are the one holding the pen. Monday comes with its usual weight. The emails, the errands, the invisible labor of remembering what everyone needs. And on your wall, the calendar still has that one evening circled in thick marker, like a promise you made in plain ink. It is a small thing, a dinner with friends, the kind where the table is too small and the laughter is too loud and someone always orders dessert for everyone. Nothing sacred, nothing dramatic, just life. Around late afternoon, your phone buzzes. His name, a message that lands like a hook because it is so easy to romanticize. You free tonight with no punctuation, no warmth, no plan, just a loose invitation tossed over the fence. Your first instinct is to rearrange yourself. You look at the circled night and feel that old reflex, the one that says, move your life, make space, prove you can be wanted. The marker line on the calendar suddenly feels like a test. You type back, tonight I'm out. Another time, then you stare at it, because something in you wants to add an explanation, a softening, a little bow. I was going to be free, but I can cancel. It's not a big deal. That is the surrender dressed as politeness. You pause with your thumb over the keyboard. The room is quiet except for the faint buzz of your laptop charging. You delete the extra sentences you have not even typed yet. You send the simple line, as it is. For a second, you feel exposed, like you just stepped onto a stage without armor. You wait for the punishment, the coldness, the disappearing act. And even if it comes, you are still standing inside your own life. You get dressed anyway. You put on the shoes that make a confident sound on the floor. You pick up your keys and leave without checking your phone again. The night air outside is crisp, and your breath looks visible for a moment like proof. This is the difference between admiration and ownership. Admiration says, he shines. So I should move. Ownership says. He can shine, and I can still keep my plans. A few days later, you find yourself back in the used bookstore. Not because you need another book, but because your nervous mind still wants a story to hold. The bell over the door gives its tired ring, and the air carries that same damp paper smell, like rain that never fully dried. You walk the narrow aisles slowly, letting your fingers skim the spines as if you are choosing a life. You notice what you have been doing with him. You have been reading him like a sacred text. Every pause becomes a symbol. Every delayed reply becomes a prophecy. Every half-invitation becomes a hidden devotion you are supposed to decode. It is not that he is evil. It is that projection makes a person into a screen. And when someone becomes a screen, you stop meeting them directly. You meet your own hopes, your own fear, your own unlived hunger, dressed up in his face. You pull a random paperback off the shelf and open it. And there it is again. A penciled note in the margin. Faint, slanted, human. The kind of writing that exists because someone wanted to remember what they felt in that exact moment. You stare at it and realize how simple reality is when you stop decorating it. Reality is what he actually does. Reality is whether he makes plans. Reality is whether he follows through. Reality is whether you feel calm or constantly on trial. There is a relief in that, almost disappointing at first, because the fantasy was bright. The fantasy was endless. The fantasy made him feel like a destiny instead of a man. But relief is not a small thing. Relief is information. It is your system saying, we can come back to the ground now. You close the book. The cover is rough under your thumb, and that texture feels like a boundary you can touch. You do not need to interpret him into depth. Depth will show itself through ordinary effort, through consistency, through the way someone treats your time. You put the book back on the shelf and let the aisle hold your silence for a moment, not the silence of waiting for him, the silence of being with yourself. You walk out with empty hands, and it feels strangely full. The park is quiet in the late afternoon, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own footsteps. A bench sits under a tree with peeling paint, and dry leaves stick to the bottoms of your shoes as you sit down. You can feel the texture of the wood through your jeans, uneven and worn, like it has held a lot of people thinking hard thoughts. You pull a small notebook from your bag. The cover is soft from use, the corners bent. You flip to a blank page and hold the pen over it. And suddenly you understand why you have been clinging to his brilliance. Because a blank page is terrifying when you have spent so long being a supporting character. You write one sentence, not a manifesto, not a sermon, just one clean standard that your future self will not have to translate. I don't negotiate the minimum. You read it back and feel a small heat rise in your chest. Not anger, not revenge, more like gravity returning. Like you are remembering you have a spine. A couple walks by with a dog that pulls at the leash. Eager and stubborn, the dog's nails click on the path, and the sound is oddly comforting. A reminder that life keeps moving even when you stop chasing. You watch them pass and think about how often you have treated uncertainty like romance. You close the notebook and rest your hand on it like you are keeping something safe. You do not need to announce this standard to anyone yet. You just need to live as if it is true. And in that moment, the world looks the same. The leaves, the bench, the pale sky. But you feel different inside it. Less like you are waiting to be chosen. More like you are choosing what you will accept. It is evening again, and your kitchen light makes that same small circle on the counter. The mug is there. The steam is there. But tonight, The scene feels different, like you moved 1 inch and it changed the whole room. Your phone sits face down, not as a punishment, not as a performance, just as a choice. You are not trying to be impressive. You are trying to be present. You let the quiet stretch without filling it with effort. In your bag by the door, the notebook is still closed. On the wall, the calendar still has that night circled in thick marker. And you kept it. You laughed at the crowded table. You ate dessert. You went home with the warm, ordinary feeling that your life is not on hold for anyone. This is what reclaiming the gold looks like in real life. Not a speech. Not a transformation montage. It looks like keeping your plans. It looks like not begging a half invitation to become a real one. It looks like letting his brilliance be true without letting it become a verdict on you. Maybe he is genuinely gifted. Maybe he is genuinely charismatic. Maybe he really does have that rare kind of mind that makes you lean forward. You do not have to deny any of that to come back to yourself. The clean standard is this. You can admire a man and still require ordinary effort. You can be inspired and still expect clarity. You can feel chemistry and still ask for consistency. Not in grand declarations. In the small follow-through moments where love actually lives. And if he cannot meet you there, then the ache you feel is not proof you lost something precious. It is proof you finally stopped giving your authorship away. It is proof you stopped shrinking your life to fit someone else's orbit. You take a sip of the tea. It is the right temperature now. Warm, not burning. You set the mug down and listen to the quiet hum of the fridge like a steady background note. The steam fades. The marker circle stays. The notebook stays closed until you are ready to write the next line of your own life. And you do not have to rush it. Is your life getting bigger or smaller?